Hi, it's Andrew O'Donnell reporting for Vyre Global Business News Network for November 22nd. We see Wall Street futures were quite subdued as Nvidia has dropped actually a little bit. And they had talked about yesterday with, incredible results. We'll get to that in a minute, but absolutely stellar results on their earnings. But they did warn on slowdown in sales in China, and also, they were concerned about the rates and whatnot as well from the Fed, what the decisions were going to be there moving forward. There's a lot of opinions back and forth. We also see European shares climbed to a 2-month high, led by some real estate stocks, and the Japanese Nikkei shares rose, rebounding on earlier declines. Gold prices and the U.S. dollar were little unchanged. But what's interesting this week is that last week was the second biggest week of inflows into global stock funds, and that added about 23.5 billion, which is good. You have to remember there's 5 trillion sitting on the sidelines, so it's good. It's in the right direction, but we still have a lot way to go. Of course, everything in the news right now is all about Sam Altman and OpenAI and Microsoft. And quite frankly, there's a lot of content out there you can go focus on. My focus isn't really necessarily on the corporate drama of billionaires. That isn't, dissuading people from AI. It's incredible. It's the future. There's a lot of great work being done, but certainly OpenAI is not the only game in town. So I think we've got other news that we could focus on rather than that. It'll work itself out. There are so many companies working on amazing AI products and services that they'll be rolling out in the next year. Now, of course, Nvidia, that was the story of the week, and they are really the story of the year and of last year. They are the story of when you hear about how great the economy is doing. It's because of Nvidia. They make up about 15% of the market. Their gains are covering all the losses of everyone else, basically. Now, I'm saying that kind of with a laugh, but really, it's 4 or 5 companies in the exchanges that are doing well, and that's what's pulling the market up. And the rest are not doing so great. We'll get to a couple companies that are struggling that are in even the infrastructure space that you think should be doing well. And we'll touch on that in a minute here as well. But Morningstar, which is, of course, a great site for you to go take a peek at if you don't already, their uncertainty rating for NVIDIA, they're still worried about what the artificial intelligence GPU growth will look like. It's unclear to them. Of course, they're very happy with it. They've got a long-term goal, projection of 100 billion of data center revenue by fiscal 2028. That's incredible. So their estimate for this year is 46 billion. So they've got high expectations for NVIDIA moving forward, and NVIDIA really is knocking out of the park. November has definitely been the fear of missing out for the stock market, people kind of jumping in. But I think it's always good to be cautious and prudent, and certainly more conservative right now, because there's more question marks out there, despite everyone just jump in and buy into Nvidia. Janet Yellen also in the news as well, saying that they've made significant headway with inflation, but at the same time acknowledging that consistently higher prices that Americans pay for food and rent versus the pre-pandemic period of time is a major factor driving voters' negative outlook on the economy. So yes, high inflation for the average person is affecting their not believing that there isn't inflation. So I know once again I'm being flippant on this, but they do believe they're making considerable progress with inflation. Although I haven't seen that, certainly. I live in Vancouver. You won't see that in any grocery store, in any restaurant, in your energy bill. Certainly not housing. So where that being met, I'm not sure. But also, the latest CPI reports that prices are rising. They're at 4%. And although it's coming down from the high of 9.5%, it's still high. In company specific news, Binance CEO and founder Changpeng Zhao stepped down from his role, pleading guilty to federal criminal charges of violating and causing financial institution to violate the Bank Secrecy Act. They've agreed to pay 4.3 billion in fines and forfeiture, and of course today about $1 billion so far as of today has been pulled out by investors. This is another big blow to the crypto space. I think most people at this point would be very wary of that space. We've got an interesting Bitcoin perspective coming out. It'll be on our website as well. And we also have an interesting piece on our website too regarding pump and dumps, from the classic ones that you would have seen, particularly in Western Canada in the 80s, compared to what you saw in the entire crypto space. Not a lot of innovation there. It's still the same pump and dump that gets played. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett on Tuesday said he's donated 866 million of the company's stock to 4 different charities. That's a feel-good type of story. But on the infrastructure front, Deere Co, their forecast for 2024 profits were below estimates, and they cited high costs of borrowing, had squeezed the budgets, and also some demand for farm equipment because, once again, financing of these equipments is exceptionally high. The world's largest farm maker expects income between 7.5 billion, 7.75 billion, and 8.25 billion, compared with average expectations by analysts of 9.3 billion. So once again, and we've seen different news in Bloomberg and CNBC regarding the high cost of capital, high cost of doing mergers and acquisitions. At these rates, it's quite difficult, and it takes a different mindset. And we've said it before, and this is why it's important to look for some of the old croonies that people don't want to look to. They think, oh, we're in a new, fast-paced technology environment. They said that every decade we need to go look at the people who've lived through these events in the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, to see what happened during then and what can we do now. And there's plenty of great sources for that. If you check out our site, send me a message. I'm happy to pass those along. Also, BP PLC and Equinor ASA, 2 companies, their U.S. Department of the Interior approved the Empire Wind Project, owned by Equinor and BP. This is a huge commercial scale wind farm, and it's been greenlit by the Biden administration. And that's supposed to bring about 30,000 megawatts of offshore wind by 2030. That's pretty bold and huge numbers. Other news also, COP28 going on. And in that, for me, it was the U.S. announcing that they are going to triple their nuclear energy by 2050. That is incredible. They've got 93 reactors to date. So that's a lot of reactors. This is a great time. It's the second age of nuclear right now. You can look at it because people are coming on board, recognizing it's the safest energy, recognizing that, yes, you can have batteries, you can have wind, you can have solar, but you need base load at the end of the day. You can't have any of these charging stations. You can't have anything unless you've got a firm, solid, conservative, foundation of baseload energy. And in order to do that, let's put this into context. We've got 2 videos coming out on the market mindset, talking specifically with uranium experts and nuclear experts. And, let's just kind of do an exercise in what it'll take as far as money infrastructure to pull out that number of reactors. You're looking at, say, 8 to 10 a year. So in order to build 8 to 10 nuclear reactors, even if you started tomorrow, and even if you got the permitting, and even if you got all the okay from the not in my backyard crowd, imagine the amount of engineers, high-tech specialists, construction, physicists, nuclear engineers, whatnot. That's a huge, income for taxes and for people. These are high-paying jobs. But imagine the scale of what it's going to take to build 10 a year for the next 10 years, say, next 20 years. That is just one sector. This isn't doing all the other things that people need to do in order to get the baseload energy connected, to get everything working for any of these ambitious projects. And if I'd seen in the infrastructure plan and infrastructure bill that there was a milestone for, here's how we're going to get 10 nuclear reactors up, here's how the government's going to support this and basically push it through, and here's how many jobs it's going to create. I mean, that's the type of infrastructure bill that I would like to see. So, maybe we'll see that moving forward. We see certainly that utilities in Europe are extending the lives of the reactors. Germany, of course, went the opposite way, and they're going to be in for a rude awakening. There's definitely a revival around the world, and we're seeing leading that charge. Cameco has had an incredible year, but they're also lowering their productions due to challenges not only in Canada, but also in Niger and whatnot. And right now we're seeing the price of uranium. It's at a 15-year high. It's up at $80 a pound. In 2008, there was a bit of a squeeze on, but it really ramped up. And when uranium goes, it can go. So we've got some focus on uranium and nuclear, like I said, with interviews and with some reports out on our site that's worth taking a look at. Along the same frame is to look at the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources in Canada, because they have put together a $1.5 billion fund to support clean energy and electrification initiatives. And this is actually quite interesting because it is looking at some mining initiatives. So I want to get more into detail on that, and we'll do that at a separate time. But it's good to see. I'd actually mentioned on a couple of podcasts that, why doesn't the government of Canada just hand out 10 million, 50 million to mining companies so that they could go drill some holes and get these critical metals? Really sound plans with some of the really good projects and good teams, not just willy-nilly. So it looks like maybe they were listening, which is interesting, and hopefully we'll see some good companies with good projects be able to make some great headway, and to get non-dilutive money into especially a penny stock is incredible. So let's see what happens with that. We really need that junior market to come alive, because now a lot of you may not know, every single one of these green solutions requires mining. We'll do a whole other show and talk on that. We have many of them on our website and on our YouTube channel. That might be a wake-up call to many people. As we see, we're always amazed at even people at the highest levels don't understand that in order to get wind farms, in order to get solar, the amount of critical metals required that go into the batteries, go into everything else, it is enormous, and the demand is exceptional. If we use nuclear for an example, and this is quite interesting, the small modular reactors, they require all of their fuel up front. So you already have mining for nuclear being controlled by basically Kazakhstan has the majority of it, and then Canada. They are already feeling that demand pull, like right now. Now imagine with the U.S. saying they want to triple. So you want triple the amount. There's going to be a demand. That's just nuclear. Now equate that to all these batteries in the cars: graphite, cobalt, nickel, lithium, phosphate. All of these things, where are they coming from? Basically, although mining has been trying to tell people to pay attention, a lot of even the companies haven't looked to see where are we going to source our demand, our supply. So this is very interesting. On that note, Stellantis, NV, we've heard a lot about them because they've done some partnerships. This is Chrysler Fiat, I believe, their battery plants. They plan to build a battery plant with China's CATL in Europe. It's the fourth one in that region. That's also good news because we see so many of these plants popping up all across US and Canada. And also, as a final note, if you're still wondering whether your views on climate change, on green energy, on all this movement, as if this is going to happen, it's going to happen. And you don't have to be on board with the ideology. But hear this out. ExxonMobil is drilling their first lithium well in Arkansas, and they aim to be a leading supplier for EVs in 2030. And you ask, well, how and why? They can go into all of their their drill holes and go for the lithium brine that's there. DLE, or direct lithium extraction technology, does work. Right now, they're trying to make it more cost effective and affordable with the absorption technologies, but this is happening and it can work. It's whether or not we can get it to scale and in what region. But this is a big sign by a big energy company saying, not only will there be oil and gas, there will, is that they are open to other energies, and they're actively moving forward with that. I mean, just look, BP, British Petroleum, and the wind farm that we just spoke about too. So anyways, a lot going on out there, a lot of good news. We've got a lot of challenges facing us ahead, but there are lots of positive things to look at and to, kind of get educated about, to look for ideas for investments and stories to follow and move forward, and to look at the solutions rather than just kind of focus on all these problems we have. There's lots of company, lots of money focused on trying to meet a lot of these solutions and to make things happen. Check in with us on our website for more details on all of this. Of course, reach out to us and let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll check in with you next week too.